from Bangor. I know, slumming it tonight in the Black Box. I've known her for years, but she first told a 10 by 9 story in Bangor a couple of years ago, and she's told a few down there. So this is her first time in the Black Box. So let's give her a big, proper Black Box welcome. Anne-Marie Foster.
I've spent the last week asking myself if I did the right thing. I'd convinced myself, watching her full body breathing and full disdain for food, and she was a very greedy cat, that I couldn't let it go on. The cancer had filled her chest with fluid again. But I still needed the vet's approval. As she lay on the well-washed blanket in the little surgery, he told me, yes, it was what he would do. I've also spent the last week trying to explain to her sister. She can now eat without looking over her shoulder for the competition, but she's perplexed at this freedom and still searching behind the sofa. It's hard, isn't it, losing a pet? And this was tough because she would have expected another 5 or 6 years of cat food and comfort from us. But Leia had proved herself in her 12 years with magnificent service to all her family, including her sister Lily. Her beautiful coat blanketed our knees and soaked up frustrations and tears. She was the gentlest thing after Lily suffered inexplicable fits, then got lost and found and forgot who we were. She cared. And that's the thing about animals, isn't it? They do. At 8, I met the first. She actually followed my sister home from school, but it was me she clung to after we tried our best to find her owners. TC knew I was losing my best friend to the boat to Australia. Her black coat disappeared in the matching darkness of my granny's old woolen wrap at the end of my bed, but I knew she was there on the days when any one of my 3 siblings were going to hospital, still in hospital, or coming home. Full of boiled liver, which disgusted me, but it was a food considered proper by my mother's generation and TC. She would perch on the gatepost when she heard my car. She cared. Suddenly, an interloper, a dog. My father loved spaniels, and he thought a King Charles Cavalier would be just the thing for my busy mum to take on. A now famous alcoholic drink had just been released on the market, and my father, a teetotal publican, called her Tia Maria to mark the occasion. Tia was supposed to be small and docile enough to be walked by his children, but I can't remember snapping on any lead. She got most of her exercise tackling the length of the hallway with a glorious superior TC, of course short for Top Cat, hiding in the corner, waiting to scare the whittle out of her. Tia bumbled beautifully about, and then my great-uncle died. My mum spotted her chance. Tia was ferried to Donaghadee and bestowed upon Aunt Annie for company. I don't remember being that upset. Tia was sweet, but my focus was always on TC. The little dog settled down in the terrace house and delighted Annie and her sisters who lived up and down the lane. A multitude of hip and knee problems meant no one was going to walk her. So she squeezed onto the little sofa beside her new keeper and ate many digestive biscuits in between meals. A faraway generation enjoying indulging her. Soon Annie and Tia were as round as each other. But Annie was happy because Tia cared. Time moved on, and so did I. Our first home of our own, and not wanting to uproot an entirely settled TC, we adopted a dog and 2 cats. One of them disappeared, and in retrospect, I think she may have found someone who needed her feline company more, so she didn't move to our next address. It's an end terrace, and we couldn't have been luckier with our neighbours. David and Anne were retired and had no children. Their house was the other half of ours. The whole thing had been split into two in a quirky way decades before. A hobbity maze of little rooms. The centre was their tiny living room with a huge coal fire. They welcomed us, the dog Shade and the cat Tori, and later our two girls, with warmth and kindness. Tori, as in Victoria, not for political allegiance, took a while to be convinced that this was now her home. A while and half a pound of butter on her paws as we collected her a second time from our old house around the corner. Shade, for the singer of Your Love is King, the vet receptionists never got it right, Sadie Foster, was immediately at home. She now had a garden and the seashore, children to play with, her best life. I knew how good our neighbours were when they admonished us for kennelling the pets when we went on holiday. But time passes and everything slows. For Tori, that meant languishing in all the warm spots in the house. For Shade, the bounciness of small to medium children started to become overwhelming, and David and Anne were her refuge. We would open the door in the mornings, and our pretty golden lab cross would amble along to their solace for the day. In the evening, we'd knock on their door, and she would potter back home to throw herself down and sleep some more. One Christmas Day, she disappeared as usual, probably even earlier than usual, and we almost forgot about her in the fuss. Christmas film on the box and everyone fed. I thought I'd better check. Bleary-eyed, David opened the door and brought me into the living room furnace. Mouths open and softly snoring, Anne and Shade were oblivious to everything. We had a lovely day, David said. Anne cooked Christmas dinner for all of us. All of you. Oh, yes. Shade had her turkey and gravy and roast potatoes. Anne put hers on a plate too, and we all ate dinner together. We even gave her Harvey's liqueur chocolates for afters. Don't do that. Chocolate, never mind sherry, is poisonous to dogs. But Anne and David were also from a different generation. Tori and Shade lived to ripe old ages, but as their bodies let them down, I had to say goodbye at our vet's. Of course we cried, but I know it hit David and Anne harder. Shade had been their comfort, and she cared. After my father had his pacemaker installed, the doctors told him to keep exercising. His golfing days behind him, my mother turned the tables and brought a spaniel puppy home to him. Phoebe's siblings were Monica, Ross, and Chandler, so you can see how that name originated. The little cocker was supposed to be for my dad, but within days she had attached an invisible lead to my mum. Also of a different generation, she ignored nutritional advice and presented little pieces of carefully cooked beef and Kit Kat chocolate kibble to the new princess. I walked her. Dad took her to the golf club and she sat beside him on the first tee, seeing off all the players. When he died, my mother, already frail, took to her bed and faded away. Phoebe stood, lay guard beside her until the final ambulance trip to hospital. The little dog was lost afterwards. She cared so much. We wanted to keep her, but her life had been living with one woman, so I contacted the breeder for help. And one crisp December morning, another woman arrived and took her bed and toys away forever. My girls cried. We cried. But I knew it was in Phoebe's best interest because I cared about her future. Phoebe's new home was just around the corner from my family house. I saw her a few times, happily walking with the lady who had opened her door to her foibles. We shared vets, and a few years later, I was bringing Lily and Leia for jabs and asked about the dog. She had had a heart attack and been nursed back to health by that angel. She cared too. Inspired by Leia, my latest loss, I once wrote in a notebook that no time was wasted with a purring cat on your knee. Last week, I discovered that Sigmund Freud said something similar. Lucky us who have been in the care of animals.